You're listening to Music 101 with your host, Alexxis Steele. Sponsored by Steel Notes Magazine. You can find them at the web, folks, at www.steelnotesmagazine.com.
Hi, it's Music 101 with Alexxis Steele. It gives me great pleasure to bring to you today Christine Ohlman, the Beehive Queen. How you doing, Christine?
I'm good, Alexxis. How are you doing down there in PA?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, at least the weather is nice here on the East Coast for a change, right?
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
good. Sunny day, warm weather. All right, Christine. So you went to New York when you were 16 to make your first record.
Yeah. We very improbably, my brother and I had a little baby garage band called the Wrong Black Bag, and we very improbably got hooked up with this guy in New York named Bob Shad, who was a bona fide jazz producer, and he had done things like gone into the field in Florida before Ray Charles was Ray Charles. He was Ray Charles Robinson. That was his real name. And Bob had recorded him. So he had then started a label called Mainstream as a rock and roll label. And on that label were Big Brother and the Holding Company with Janis Joplin, the Amboy Dukes with Ted Nugent, and Ultimate Spinach with Jeff Skunk Baxter. And then there was us, the little baby band, the little baby, rock and roll band. And then we found out that Janis Joplin was getting ready to make the jump to Columbia Records, which is where she ended up, of course. And Bob Shad was really looking for a band to replace Big Brother on his label. And so we were able then to, sort of get in on that. And it was fun. It was fun.
Excellent. All right, so Christine, I assume that you had some musical influences from your family, being that, you were already writing at the age of 16. Did either one of your parents, did they play any instruments?
Yeah, my dad played piano by ear. My mother had trained as a dancer. And so we had a lot of music around the house, a lot of jazz records, great vocalists. My mother had, when she was a girl in New York, she'd gone to Cafe Society to see Billie Holiday. She was really, they were huge music fans. So when we started the Wrong Black Bag, our house was the house where we rehearsed. They let us keep all the gigantic music equipment in the basement. My little sister used to fall asleep with her head on the PA. To this day, I say, I don't know why you're not deaf. My father drove us around. We were way too young to drive. Or we had much older friends who, one of them had a hearse that he used to use, and so he drove us around in the hearse. It was, that kind of thing. And so my parents were hugely supportive. We could never have gotten anywhere without my parents.
Nice. So when did you actually get interested in playing guitar? How old were you?
Oh yeah, I didn't really play, I was in my late 20s when I started playing guitar. Before that, I was just the chick singer in the band,
Okay.
And so writing and everything was done, became much easier for me when I started playing the guitar.
Mm-hmm. So who influenced you as far as guitar playing go?
I'm pretty much just a strummer. So I guess I was just glad to have my hands on any instrument because I tried to learn how to play piano and it had not gone well. I never would practice, but the guitar seemed just fit me better. And my first guitar, I have it to this day, is a 1966 Fender Mustang. It's what they call candy apple red.
Nice.
With a white pickguard. That was my first axe. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. So, like you said, your influences were Etta James, Ray Charles, Jackie Wilson. So, definitely some heavy hitters, right? That your mom turned you on to.
Yeah, my mom and then my dad used to procure me the 45s, and that was the beginning of my vinyl collection, which is pretty legendary. And yeah, I just was always gravitated to that music. It just spoke to me. I seemed to understand it from a very young age. It spoke to me. I loved it. I love it to this day, and it really was the basis of my delving into what they call deep Southern soul, which is Etta James. Soul records that were made in the '60s to the mid '70s down south. Memphis, Muscle Shoals, etc. And I know we'll talk later about a personal connection that I have to Muscle Shoals now. So
Mhm.
a lot of it came full circle for me, Alexis.
Okay, cool. So, tell me about the Scratch Band.
Oh
That
yeah.
was after, your first band?
Yeah, after the Wrong Black Bag. In between, there was a band called Fancy, and we actually made an album. But Scratch Band was four of the members of Fancy, and then came to an audition was a guy named George Smith, or his nickname is G.E. Smith. He had moved to Connecticut from the Poconos in Pennsylvania, and he showed up with a guitar. He liked all the same songs we did. Um, he just fit in right from the get-go, and he became the fifth member of the band. And then later on, my brother left to really become a studio owner. My brother Vic
Mhm.
Steffens owns a studio in West Haven, Connecticut, and a guy named Mickey Curry joined. And Mickey Curry was from the Connecticut shoreline, and he later went on to play with Bryan Adams and a lot of other people. And the five of us are still extraordinarily close. I always say to people, the first band that you have that you really come up with, I think, is you're lucky if you just stay friends with those people. You never, because you share a bond because you were on the road, did a lot of things together, and we're very close, the five of us.
Very cool. So tell me, how did you become the featured vocalist for Saturday Night Live?
Well, there you see the connection to this guy G.E. Smith, who later went on to become the band leader. He married Gilda Radner. They were married for a few years. It was a short marriage. And then he becomes the band leader. In the meantime, I'm collecting records and I'm doing a lot of things. And among other things, I'm making these mixtapes or mix CDs for people of obscure songs from my vinyl collection. I'm putting them together and I'm sending them out to people. This is before Spotify, you guys. So we were making things on
Yeah.
CD. So GE was always one of the people I shared these things with. One day my phone rings and it's GE, and he wants to know if I'm free on a weekend, and thankfully I was, and tells me that it's gonna be a gig with the Saturday Night Live band, but he doesn't tell me what gig, and they're gonna learn some songs off of the records I've been sending him, and make some charts for me. It's of course SNL Band is a horn band. It's got 5 horn pieces in it. So sure enough, I go to New York. We have wonderful rehearsals. Everyone is amazingly gracious. We do a gig at a club in the Hamptons called the Stephen Talk House in Long Island, and then they tell me that the next night we will be playing Lorne Michaels' wedding reception at his estate in the Hamptons. And of course we go, and everyone who's anyone is there, walking around, Jack Nicholson, you name it. We play the gig, we have a great time, we go back to the hotel, and I'm thinking, well, that was nice, but now it's over. The next week was the beginning of the season in SNL, which is always late September, early October. And the band is up on the bandstand, and Lorne Michaels comes walking across the studio and looks around and says to GE, "Where's the girl?" And GE says, "What do you mean, where's the girl? The girl that was with you at the wedding." He said, "Well, I thought you just wanted me to get a vocalist for the wedding." "Oh, no." Lorne says, "No, she was great. Call her up and tell her to come next week." And that was
Okay.
29 years later. There I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very cool. So
Yeah.
now you were there for the 25th and the 40th anniversary specials, and you were actually on stage with Jimmy Fallon, and Elvis Costello and the B-52s joined you as backup vocalists too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We took over the 2 floors of the Plaza Hotel for the after party after the 40th anniversary because everybody was there too. And they put together a concert band, and Jimmy was like the MC, Jimmy Fallon, and he and I are great friends. So I get up, and the B-52s had just been up, so they stayed. We sang some Ronette songs and other things. Jimmy sang, I sang, and Elvis Costello was there. It was, it was a great night of the show itself, and then the after party was also equally great.
Oh, I bet. I bet that was lots of fun.
It was.
Okay, so now 2012, there was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in Cleveland,
Oh yeah.
and you were part of the house band for the Central Park Summer Stage tribute to Janis Joplin, and you got to front Big Brother and the Holding Company in the Cosmic Blues Band. So
Yeah.
how cool is that?
Well, again, talk about coming full circle because, as I said, Mainstream Records, where I started, had been the label of Big Brother and the holding company. So this would have been her 50th, I believe it was her 50th birthday, it would have been. And the year itself was called the Year of the Blues. So this was at Central Park outdoors, huge audience. And they just got 15 women maybe to sing different songs. But I was the only one that got to front both Big Brother and the Cosmic Blues Band, who had both sort of reunited for this show on Central Park. And at the end, we all stood on the stage and stomped our feet and sang Mercedes Benz. We all sang
wow.
together. That was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Oh, I bet it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I could see, like, when I heard your voice, I definitely could hear that Janis Joplin thing going on. I was thinking, yeah, she would be awesome doing Janis Joplin.
Yeah, we come from the same place, Alexis. So that's really kind of why. We just come from the same place.
Mhm.
It's all good.
Absolutely. So now, there was Bob Dylan's 30th anniversary tribute concert where you actually got to sing with George Harrison.
Yeah.
That
That
must be amazing.
It was clearly the most trippy thing I've ever done, and I've done everything. So, I mean, it was like so over the top who was going to be there. We had about 5 days of rehearsal in New York where people just kept cycling through the room. Johnny Cash and his wife, June Carter, and then, Eddie Vedder and, Eric Clapton, Neil Young. But then one day they told us they were going to bring us and take us all in a van, and they didn't tell us where. They took us to a soundstage in Queens where we were to rehearse with George Harrison and Lou Reed. And George Harrison came into the room where we were all waiting, the green room, and went around and introduced himself to each person in the room. How do you do? I'm George Harrison. And we just fell out. I mean, it was so gracious and really kept us from just being so nervous. Oh my God, it's a Beatle. So, and since then I've met Paul McCartney and, sat and talked with Paul McCartney a bunch of times, but that was my first Beatle meeting. So I will never forget how gracious he was.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, and he had some great tunes.
Oh yeah. And then we sang together, and the show itself was pretty amazing. Beyond
I can
anything,
imagine.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's a cool thing that I actually saw this movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and you were actually in that singing a Stones tune called Out of Time, right?
Yeah. Out of Time. So Andrew Loog Oldham, who produced all the early Rolling Stones records, and Andrew is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, was a business partner of my husband's. And at one point at our studio in Connecticut, we had sung on some Stones tracks. We had put backup vocals on them. And then they came out on an album called Metamorphosis, which is kind of a collector's item. So when the Tarantino movie comes out, all of a sudden we heard that we were on the soundtrack with that particular version of Out of Time. I mean, the Rolling Stones also recorded it. We overdubbed onto their track, but they chose the version that I had sung on. And it's what it's called a full usage. So there was a plane coming in with Leonardo DiCaprio and his Italian wife. It's toward the end of the movie, and then they're walking through the airport, and they played the song in its entirety. I saw it in a theater with surround sound, and it was so moving. Because who would guess? I mean, that record was made a long time ago, but when someone told us that they thought that Tarantino had it in his vinyl collection, and he really liked it, and that was why he wanted to use that version.
Okay. That's very cool.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know, right?
You never know.
So now 2017, you were inducted into the National Blues Hall of Fame of American Heritage International.
Yes. Not a blues player. I wouldn't call myself a blues artist. I've worked with a lot of blues artists. Currently working on a biographical documentary for the great harmonica player James Cotton. And in fact, today I was just texting with my friend Charlie Musselwhite, who is arguably the dean of blues harmonica players everywhere right now. And Charlie is about to move to Clarksdale, Mississippi from California. So we were making plans to visit. But as I said, not a blues player, but these people contacted me. I was very honored to be asked. And of course, I said yes. And so there I am in the Blues Hall of Fame, although I wouldn't call myself a classic blues player. I'm sort of bluesy, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So now, where was this? You were actually on stage. Well, I know Elvis Costello and the B-52s. But now also Ian Hunter, Bruce Springsteen, Brian Wilson, Steve Miller, Keb Mo, Bonnie Raitt. That's a lot
Yeah.
of people there.
No, that wasn't all at once. Except Ian Hunter, who is a dear friend of mine, is on my last record, and I'm on several of his records. Ian Hunter from Mott the Hoople. The rest of those people come from a charity called Little Kids Rock, and I hope you'll maybe let me talk about my charities because I have a few of
Absolutely.
them. Little Kids Rock gives musical instruments and lessons in all around the country to kids, to disadvantaged kids. And we have a big gala every year, and we'll be coming back post-pandemic in October in New York. So over the years, I've worked with Brian Wilson, Steve Miller, Bruce Springsteen. These people have all come and sang at that particular concert, Keb Mo, people like that, Bonnie Raitt. So then also, I'm one of the national spokespeople for the New Orleans Musicians Clinic, which is very important in New Orleans now, pandemic. The musicians are all out of work, obviously. There's a charity called Rock and Roll for Children Foundation out of Bethesda, Maryland, and we are benefiting the Children's Inn at the National Institutes of Health, where there are terminally ill kids that are getting experimental treatment in the hopes of helping other kids down the road. Something called Casey Cares, which is a private Make-A-Wish foundation that makes wishes come true for the whole family, not just the child who's ill. And the Institute for the Musical Arts, that's up in Northampton, Massachusetts, and has a wonderful rock and roll camp for girls. And I'm up there every summer. I serve on the board with Bonnie Raitt, and we're there every summer working with the girls. And also something called the Sessions Panel, which is an all-star bunch of us that go all around the world. We've been in Europe a bunch of times, and we visit colleges, we fit music schools, but colleges and universities. And we talk to the music students about the business, how it's changing, with streaming, everything, and how to sort of monetize their career, different things they might want to look at doing to make their careers more viable. It's very down to earth, sort of, brass tacks kind of thing. And then we have a big jam session with them. And one of my most beautiful memories from that was we were in Florida. Late Chick Corea came on a panel, and I got to sing Summertime with Chick Corea. That was sensational.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Yes, it was.
Very cool. Okay, so now tell me about the Lincoln Center American Songbook. Was that a concert?
It was a series of concerts, actually, run by the great late Hal Wilner. Hal Wilner was our loss on Saturday Night Live, by the way, from COVID. He died very quickly, early in the pandemic. Hal Wilner was a genius who was responsible for some of the greatest, most eclectic concerts that have ever happened in New York City for years and years. So the American Songbook series was curated by Hal Wilner, and I was there for Harold Arlen. On that same bill with us were Sting, Lou Reed, Marshall Crenshaw. We were all there singing the songs of this great jazz composer, Harold Arlen. Also, the late Alan Toussaint was there playing piano, a great New Orleans piano player. It was a fabulous night, very eclectic. Yeah, thank you for, nobody ever asks me about that. Thank you for asking.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, yeah, that was very cool. What year was that?
I don't remember. 2013, maybe. I don't know. They all run together, Alexis.
Yeah, I guess together. When you do so many. Yeah. Now, what about now? I know you do a yearly Muscle Shoals, Alabama WC Handy Festival. So you're involved in that every year?
Yeah, I started going down to the Shoals 12 years ago to see a friend of mine named Paul Thorne, who's really from Tupelo, Mississippi, perform. And the next thing you know, I was involved in something that happens in late July every year there, although not last year in the pandemic, called the Handy Festival. And I'm in a band called the Decoys with the great David Hood on bass. I play there with what they call the Swampers. So they're all still working, very viable. Every historic studio in Muscle Shoals is refurbished and flourishing. So it's a really unusual scene down there because, we really have no studios left in Manhattan because of the rent. So there's a few in Brooklyn, But
Yeah.
so Muscle Shoals is a very important part of my life. I'm there maybe twice a year, and I'm also very deeply embedded in the scene in New Orleans. My last, as they say, pre-pandemic road trip, was to play with the Radiators at Tipitina's. They do a yearly residency there. The New Orleans scene is fabulous. And then I'm embedded in the scene in Nashville, of course, in New York City, and then in New England, which is where my own band is based out of. And I'm just, really, it's amazing to be able to move between these different scenes with these really, really fabulous musicians. I'm very honored. I don't have any idea why they let me even in there, but they did. So I'm happy.
Okay.
That was a
All
joke.
right. So now let's talk about your band. Okay. So that's Rebel Montez.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Rebel
Why
Montez.
I'm thinking about the name. Is there any significance to that name, or how's it?
No, my husband and I were just screwing around trying to think. And I thought Neil Young has a song called Cortez the Killer. And I thought, well, Montez, Cortez, we were thinking maybe Rebel Montez would be like an alter ego for me. But in fact,
Okay.
it never has been. I've never used it that way. And then we decided to make it the name of the band, and it just kind of stuck. So, that's where Rebel Montez comes from. If any musicians that are watching, the hardest thing to ever do is name your band. It's terribly hard.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I know it. Okay, so now, who are the guys in your band? What year was that, and how did you hook up with them?
It's about 25 years. They're all from New England. One of the original founding members, Eric Fletcher, passed away. The new guitar player is not new. He's been with me a long time now, is Cliff Goodwin from Worcester, Massachusetts. Cliff played back in the day with Joe Cocker. And then Michael Colbath on bass, Lauren Entress on drums. Chris Bickley is our touring guitar player, and Larry Donahue is another drummer that we worked with for many years. So it's a great, very solid unit because we play mostly original music. I'm very lucky to have such supportive cats who come in and just, play the song. They play for the song. They're all great musicians. And so I consider myself very fortunate in that regard.
Sure. Now, one of those tunes is Love Makes You Do Stupid Things. What year did that come out?
Well, the video, I think, was made around 2013 by a friend of ours named Bill Hurley, who runs a thing called the alternateroute.com. Bill is a great videographer. So we put in a lot of clips from vintage old movies, which is kind of cool.
Okay, very cool. Well, we're actually going to take a look at and listen to Love Makes You Do Stupid Things by Christine Ohlman and Rebel Montez, and we'll be right back on Music 101.
This two-lane highway with a dirty rain pouring down the rearview mirror. 5 a.m. on this hard-wrecked byway, and the windshield wipers can't dry this river of tears.
That'd be great. But anyway, now let's getting back with Rebel Montez, your band. You have 6 CDs with them, right? And The Hard Way, Radio Queen, Wicked Time, Strip, Rehive, and The Deep End.
That's right. And we have a concert DVD called Live Hive, which is named after my hair.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, that's why I have like this, not quite like yours, but a little.
Yes, it is. It's a little poofy. I like it.
It's a little poofy. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So now, is there anything that you haven't done yet? Anyone that you would like to work with that you have not yet had the opportunity to do?
Mavis Staples. Mavis Staples is, we know all the same people, including I know her former manager very well, and it's just never happened. I've worked with so many other people. It's amazing. But I'd love to work with her. A couple of years ago, I began singing with Candy Staton, who is the soul queen of Muscle Shoals. And she was another one that I had just always wanted to work with. And I did a couple of shows with her and we had so much fun, but still have not sung with Miss Staples.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's your, the thing that you'd like to do. That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been all over. I mean, have you ever, most of the time, are you like out on the East Coast? Have you gone to the West Coast at all?
Yeah. In fact, my last pre-pandemic trip, it was not just to New Orleans, but it was also to LA. So the scene in LA is very weird, though. It's pay to play. It's just strange.
Really?
Yeah, very
it's
strange.
Pay to play. Wow.
Strange scene out there. Yeah, not all that appreciative of original music either.
No.
But it's a strange scene in LA, just because it's so spread out,
Mm-hmm.
But it's always fun to be there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk now about the last album that you put out, which was called The Deep End.
Yes.
Okay, if you want to elaborate on that.
Well, I'd had some loss in my life. My husband had passed away, and a few other weird things had happened. Someone asked me if I had written an album about loss, and I realized that I really hadn't. Thought when I thought about the songs, it was really an album, I say, about love and the courage to fall into it. I think it's really an album about courage, I think, more than anything. So, and I think any songwriter you would talk to, Alexxis, would tell you that they don't really know where the songs come from. They just come. And you might have just a few lyrics or just an idea for a few chords, and the next thing you know, you have this whole story being told. People have told me that album has gotten them through loss, which means a lot to me. But it's hard to say what in entirety what you think the record is about. But certainly the song "The Deep End," means a lot to me. It's sort of a personal song.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Well, we're going to actually take a look and a listen to The Deep End by Christine Ohlman and Rebel Montez, and we'll be right back on Music 101.
I never was one for the shallow water, never afraid of the dark. Hard to handle the excitable kind, take off running when I could have walked. And maybe I should have listened when Mama said, girl, to yourself be true. I was hard-headed, couldn't make up my mind, was I waiting for only you? I will jump right into the deep end of the river of love, love, love. I gotta be satisfied, I wanna be baptized down in the deep end, down in the deep end, down in the deep end, down in the deep end. I told myself I would never surrender, though I was no stranger to the thrill. Then came the thirst in your eyes and the twist in your smile, and I hold my heart steady until I will jump right into the deep end of the river of love, love, love. I gotta be satisfied, I wanna be baptized down in the deep end, down in the deep end, down in the deep end, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now the current is strong, but the water is warm, and the river runs pure and wide. Baby, take my hand, take a lover's chance, and meet me on the other side. I will jump right into the deep end of the river of love, love, love. I gotta be satisfied, I wanna be baptized down in the deep end, down in the deep end, down in the deep end, down in the deep end. I will jump right into the deep end of the river of love, love, love. I wanna be satisfied, I gotta be baptized down in the deep end, 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 down in the deep end. I gotta be baptized, baby, let's go down to the deep end, yeah, down in the river of love.
We're back on Music 101. We were just listening to The Deep End with Christine Ohlman, Rebel Montez. Christine, that's a great song, it really is. And I could see how that would touch somebody's heartstrings, you know, as being a very emotional kind of song.
Yeah, it really is. Again, I'm not exactly sure where it came from, but I'm glad that it did. It's come to mean a lot to me. It's been, a source of comfort for me even. So yeah, thank you for saying that, Alexxis. I appreciate it.
Sure. And actually, as I was listening to it, I was thinking that I could hear that in like a background track, like in a movie. Did you
Yeah.
ever think about doing that?
Oh yeah, I had actually. It's been in. Well, the song "The Hard Way" was in a movie. Yeah, it's been. Yeah, my stuff gets into movies. I can't remember if this one has gotten into one or not. It's
well, if it hasn't, it should, because I could see that. You know what I mean?
Sure,
Really
sure.
good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now you're going to be touring soon, coming up here on May 1st. I know this is you'll probably be starting to tour before this actually airs, but on May 1st, you're starting in Connecticut, right?
That's right. We're starting with a drive-in show, which had become very popular last year during the pandemic up in the Northeast, where people come in with their cars, like at a drive-in movie theater. In fact, you were just asking me, we were on a break, and you were asking me about Dennis Dunaway from Alice Cooper. Dennis lives in Connecticut now, and he just texted me to say he's coming to the drive-in. He and his wife are going to drive in their car, so I'm looking forward to seeing them. And then, these shows will all be outdoors. My first theater appearance is in September, so we'll see whether or not that even happens. But we have also theater appearances in November and December, and so we have to see how this whole thing unfolds. Certainly the outdoor gigs we know are pretty much going to happen. That's whether they're socially distanced or not remains to be seen. But then it's more the indoor appearances that, Broadway has announced that it will reopen, but it's reopening with what they call first tier shows, which is like The Lion King So they're only going to let certain shows open that they think will attract, I think, tourists back to Broadway, and then they'll open what they call second tier shows. I know a lot of guys that are in the band of the Temptations show, Temptations biography musical, and they're in the second tier of opening in Broadway. So you're going to have to really kind of swing with the program, however it happens as things begin to reopen.
Sure. And I guess, they'll probably, whether they have social distance seating and like reduced amount of tickets being sold and stuff like that.
I think their whole idea is that they're not opening until the theaters can be full, because in Broadway, they just can't afford to do that. That's really why they've been closed for so long. So I think that's the idea, but of course, I don't really know what they're thinking. I don't know what the government, I don't know what the governor of New York is thinking, or the governor of any of the states I work in is thinking.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Very cool. So now, Christine, where can fans find you? Find all about you and the bands and your music and your videos and your tours?
Yeah, we have a jam-packed website. It's ChristineOhlman.com, OHLMAN, or ChristineOhlman.net. I own both of those, so you can go to either one. If you can't remember how to spell my name, just look up the Beehive Queen. On Facebook, I'm the Beehive Queen. On Instagram, I'm the_Beehive_Queen. And but if you go to the website, that'll take you to everything, including the tour schedule is on there as well. I'm very active on social media, so hit me up at the Beehive Queen page. And I love interacting as much as I have time for with people online.
Oh, that's awesome. A lot of people, I guess, don't do that, so that's really cool that you do get involved on social media.
I try.
Well, Christine, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with me and have this interview. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you in person in the very near future.
I would love to, Alexis, and I really want to thank you and Rock in the Valley for giving me the chance to come on. In the pandemic, it's become more important than ever to give original musicians a voice and a platform, and I really appreciate your doing that today, and your whole crew. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you as well. And you have a great day.
Thank you, Alexis. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Music 101 with your host, Alexxis Steele. Sponsored by Steel Notes Magazine. You can find them at the web, folks, at www.steelnotesmagazine.com.